Happy
New Year.
Well, welcome to the first meeting of the year, the new year. This meeting is called to order at 5 p.m. We'll first do a moment of silence followed by the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Claire, public comment.
Public comment periods will be held at the beginning of the scheduled meeting and limited to a maximum of 30 minutes. Each person desiring to speak shall clearly state their name and will have a maximum of 3 minutes to make his or her remark. A speaker may not speak more than once during the same public comment period, and unused time may not be yielded to another speaker. To avoid repetition, groups of individuals who expect to have the same or similar comments are encouraged to select a spokesperson to speak on their behalf. Public comment is not intended to require the board to answer any impromptu questions. The board should refrain from engaging in dialogue except to the extent necessary to clarify the speaker's position. The board shall not entertain questions from the audience, and discussions between speakers and members of the audience shall be prohibited. Speakers shall maintain proper decorum and shall make their comments in a civil manner. Personal attacks and use of obscene or profane language are prohibited. Speaker comments should be limited to subjects that are within the board's jurisdiction. Action on items brought up during the public comment period will be at the discretion of the board.
Okay, we're open. Is this the New Year gift? All
I
right.
think we need to establish that before I read the whole thing. We need to have a little impromptu hand raise.
All righty. Okay, Claire, you want to go with the minutes?
All right, so the first item are the minutes from December 5th. Everybody has a copy. These were emailed out prior to the meeting. If you need a minute to review them, that's fine. If you are satisfied with the minutes, then a motion to approve would be in order.
I move the minutes be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
And this is the one to be signed.
April and May, like every week,
It's a little scratchy.
pretty much.
Well, we don't have a second primary.
That's true, that's
Yeah, because that applies those to like a second.
true. Okay, all of these, I guess.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the next, the first item of business is the early voting appointments. What I did is basically what we talked about the last meeting. I reached out to both the party chairs and sent them a list of their Democratic poll workers and Republican poll workers respectively. They were able to review them, and I just made the suggestion that if they wanted to go ahead and just appoint that whole list, it makes it easier on them and on us to schedule workers for early voting. Just as a refresher, what we have always done in the past is our chief judges at the early voting sites are our appointed judges, and all of our workers are election workers. So what the law wants us to do is what we've already been doing in Harnett County, with the exception of the official appointment of those workers. So both party chairs did appoint all the poll workers that were already set up with their party, and I have the lists and their email here if you want to look at it. But the only thing I need today is for you guys to approve the appointment list. And again, that's all the Republican and Democrat poll workers we have set up in the system. We will still take new workers, and I've already relayed to the party chairs that if they find more people that want to work, send them to us, because we're always going to need more election workers. So they'll still have the opportunity to work as well.
So that's a new change in the law, I guess, that
Yeah, so
like regular.
some
workers?
counties, what they usually did for early voting was they had one-stop site managers, and then they may have had some election workers work, but then they may have had staffing agencies to help them. So they weren't necessarily balanced by party,
Gotcha.
which again was why you have the observers there too to oversee that process. But for us, it was just easier to use our election workers, balance it by parties, use our judges, because it gives them more experience prior to election day. So we've always kind of done it that way in Harnett County. This just makes it more official. And once we do, once we do have the list together of who's going to be working each day of early voting, I'll also share that with the party chairs as well, so they'll see who's working each day
Okay.
and see that the parties are balanced.
That was my question.
Okay, sorry.
And that's part of that law that just passed.
Correct. Mhm.
Now, did I read that law correctly, that some people actually hire agencies to do that?
Mhm.
Did y'all read that in there too?
Yeah.
That was unusual to me,
Mhm. No, we've always just used our poll
but
workers.
I think we should.
Yeah. So,
Contract for that.
You need a motion?
yeah, so if everybody's okay with that, then I just need a motion.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Motion second. Any other discussion?
Yeah, I do. On some of the procedures that we've always done that way, I'd like to have a chance to review some of those procedures in detail, not at this point, but under new business, I'm going to raise a couple of issues, and this would fall into that category, but we're at this point now, and certainly I'll approve the action up to this point. But I just think we have to go into a little more depth in the selection process and the involvement of the board in those selection processes. And I'll wait to have under new business to discuss those issues.
Okay. That's fine. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. So then the next item is the ballot duplication plan. I've given everybody a copy of that. This is another one of those things, Bill, that's gonna be kind of new for you, but it's something we've always done. So per general statute, 163-234-2, the board can allow the staff to do preparatory steps for certain tasks, and for this is absentees. Basically what this is saying is that it's establishing a uniform standard for duplicating military overseas ballots, and then basically any ballots that may have been torn or destroyed through the Postal Service. So what this does is I get a bipartisan team into my office during the week, and they will duplicate any military overseas ballots, because those ballots come to us via email, so they're not on a regular ballot that will run through the machine. So the bipartisan team works together to duplicate that ballot onto an actual physical ballot. As you can see, we have a ballot duplicator, a ballot caller, and then a ballot reviewer. So the three work together to verify that the ballots are being duplicated accurately. Every ballot across the top will have duplicate written across it. It will be kept with the original. And then at the board meeting, the board will review those duplicated ballots to verify that they are in fact a true duplicate of the original. And then the original ballot will go through the machine. During the municipals, we did some of this stuff at the board meeting, which is fine because we only had 2 or 3 to do. But during a primary or general election, we could have several, we can have up to 50 or more that we have to duplicate. And that's a lot of time you guys will be taking out of your meeting to do that. And then we also run the risk of being on camera and having public here viewing and seeing those ballots and the identifier markers we have to put on those ballots. So this is basically just a uniform standard for us to do that preparatory work prior to the absentee board meeting. But again, just to clarify, the board will look at and review those ballots before they go through the machine. So you will have a chance to verify them as well.
Okay, is this state policy, the policy
It
and
is
procedure?
state recommended, yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
state
Especially-
blessings anyway, right?
Yes, because especially for larger counties, they don't have time to do that. Their absentee meetings would be forever long duplicating, especially if you think about Cumberland County and the amount of military absentee ballots they have to duplicate every election. So it's definitely state recommended.
And this seems like how we have been doing it.
Yeah, we've done it in the past. I just wanted to get a new approval since we have a new, most of the board is returning, but I know Bill's new and hasn't seen this, so I want to make sure that we're all on the same page prior to our first absentee meeting.
When you say this is gonna be done on bipartisan basis, how are you gonna, do the 3 people here with positions?
Mhm.
You're gonna
So,
have a pair?
What we typically have done in the past, we've had Democrat, Republican, and unaffiliated, and they're
Okay.
poll workers. Sometimes I will be the unaffiliated if we can't get a poll worker in, but we always have a Democrat and a Republican that's an election worker come in to assist us. And also let me add that when we do have the ballot duplication team come in, I will email the board so you'll know when they're coming. So if you want to come and watch in our office, you can do that as well. I think we've had a board member or 2 come in the past to watch us do that process. So you will have that opportunity as well. This just saves you guys time at your absentee meeting.
Are the parties involved in recommending workers for you, or do you just take it
Not
off
for the ballot
list?
duplication. We just, well, yes and no, because we use election workers. And so the election workers are sent to us by the party chairs. So they do have a hand at the front end, but we select based on who's available. Typically, this isn't always the case, we use our MAT team, because they're already appointed as our MAT team, and they're already coming in and out anyway, doing nursing home tasks. So a lot of times we'll just say, hey, we're gonna do the ballot duplication on this date, this time, and then you can go to a nursing home. So we kind of give them a multi-task to do
Oh,
with that
they love you
appointment.
for that, right?
Yeah, well, they get paid for it, so.
You said they get paid on a daily basis, or half day,
Yes,
or a daily?
they get paid by the day or half day.
Okay. Well, I move to approve the procedure as presented.
Is there a second?
I'll second again, I guess that's my job.
That's
Be
you,
the
Jay.
second.
Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Alright, so the next item is more for information for you, but then also to get a little bit of feedback as well. We will be beginning our budget work for the next fiscal year. Typically, the county admin wants our budgets by March, so we're gonna discuss it again in February and then discuss it again and get approval in March. But I just wanna let you know that the county did approve, having our election workers paid by the Greer Group. So when all of our poll workers come in, for training, they're also gonna fill out the paperwork so they can get paid through that company. So they're not gonna be paid by Harnett County or considered a Harnett County employee anymore. They're now gonna be part of this agency and they're gonna do all the payroll. Again, like I've discussed in the past, we still have the appointment by the board, by the parties, we still staff, we still recruit, we still schedule. So the only thing the Greer Group's doing is the onboarding and payroll stuff. So when I do the budget, I will have to account for the amount that we pay the poll workers, but the group does have a 23%,
Markup.
markup that we have to
Wow.
add to that. So I just want you to be aware when we do the budget, the poll workers are gonna be in a separate line item from where they were, and then it's gonna have that little bit of an increase on there.
So this is gonna be Infinity or Tron?
This is until we find that it doesn't work. Other counties use this agency. I know Wake County uses this agency. I think there's some other counties that use them, so I don't foresee there being any issues. But if we are only in a 1-year contract with them, so if at the end of the year we say this just isn't working, we do have the opportunity of either going back or finding another group to work with. But being that they have experience working with counties and election workers, I don't really foresee there being an issue. But again, we only have a 1-year contract with them.
And they won't be doing any of the supervising as to who is doing what, where, none
No,
of
they're
that.
simply payroll. That's it.
And the contract is between the third-party provider and our county?
And the county, correct.
And they get 23%?
Yes.
Markup.
I think when the numbers that we looked at from 2022, I think we paid, I want to say it was 140 for the poll workers, which made the markup about 30,000. And so the county said, is it worth it to pay them 30,000 or to pay another staff person 30,000 plus have all the liability and everything associated with the poll workers? And the cost and the liability was just worth it to go with the company.
And after the completion of the contract, who's doing the reviewing of its success?
We would.
Okay.
It would be, we would review whether it was successful or not. HR, payroll, finance may have some say in it depending on how many complaints they receive, so it'll be kind of a multi. Another thing that I'm going to try to add to the budget for the next year is, so we're doing our expo in February to promote the primary, to educate, to do outreach. So I do plan on, especially if that's a success, adding money into our next year's budget so we can do another expo before the general election. That way we can do that again, outreach, and be one-on-one with the public that comes.
Is that gonna be here?
It will be here.
Uh-huh.
The other thing I would like to add into the budget is, it's been a long time, but we haven't done this in a long time, but I would like to do an election worker appreciation after the general election, where we just have the poll workers come back, maybe give them some food, some little door prizes or something, especially after this year. I think it's gonna be a very long,
I agree.
emotional year, so I would like to put some money aside in there to do an appreciation for them in possibly December, depending on how the election runs, maybe January.
What's the possibility of giving the poll workers some more income?
That's something that we can add to it as well if the board's interested in that. And that again was gonna be something that I was gonna say, is there any other suggestions that you guys may have? Yeah, so those were the 3 things that I wanted to let you know were gonna be in there. And then after that, I was gonna ask for any suggestions. And so I can see, election worker pay, and then also to ask, so what would be an idea? I think typically we've done in the past was we did it in increments of $10. But I don't know what would be a good number for, since you brought it up.
Well,
$10.
I'm just saying some kind of increase. I know we did 10 the last time.
Yeah,
What are we paying people?
Per day?
What are we paying?
I'm going to pull it up because I can't remember off the top of my head.
That is
I
per
think
hour.
it was $10 per session.
Per session?
I think
Okay,
that's
per
what it was.
session. Okay,
And I think it was per day, is that right? We added that,
we did it per
we
day.
added that $10 per day
I
when
think-
they're working.
We added it to their base pay.
Right.
So let me pull that up. So essentially,
That may have been during COVID that we did that.
So right now, assistants, this is just the base pay. So assistants get 145, judges get 160, chief judges get 175. They do get $30 for training. They get, the chief judge gets 40 for delivering supplies. So there's lots of other different add-ons they can get, but their base pay is 145, 160, 175
And that's
a day.
a day.
Now, during early voting, it may vary a little bit because like Sunday, we're only open 1 to 5, so it's 50, 65, and 20. But that would also increase on that daily rate with the,
Okay.
but I think what the board has done just for consistency in the past was just increase that base pay. So if we did $10, it would be 155, 170, and then 185.
If we did that, will you have some numbers for us the next time?
I
to see
can,
what-
yeah,
okay.
right, today's just a discussion, so I
Okay,
can,
right.
I can pull the numbers and then, once I start getting more of these things in my spreadsheet, at the next meeting, I can show you the spreadsheet. Now, our February meeting, I can show you the spreadsheet, we can discuss it more, and then bring a finalized one by March, because typically that's when admin wants it is by March. Looking at Brent, what do you think?
And we're gonna request the 5th position again?
Maybe a sixth position? No. And of course, if you think of anything outside the meeting today, just feel free to call me and email me, and I can certainly work up some numbers to have more of a discussion at the next meeting. I just didn't know what other ideas you guys may have going forward. Of course, I'm gonna keep the advertising budget as much as I can, especially if we're gonna do another expo and the poll work appreciation and stuff, so those numbers are gonna go up a little bit.
That's what I was gonna ask, like, have there been any increases in the billboard prices and? all the
Yeah,
other
there
stuff
actually
that you
was,
do?
because I think I had budgeted, I think I budgeted 3,000 for the billboards, and when we actually ordered the billboards, it was closer to 4,000.
How many billboards is that?
That is, okay, so I budgeted 4,000, and that's for 4 billboards. And the price was a little bit over 4,000, so we had to move some money to offset that cost.
And how long will we keep the billboards up?
The billboards stay up prior to and through early voting, because it advertises early voting, the days, and then it tells us to go to our website for more information. And we have 3 print billboards and then 1 digital.
Okay, so,
So basically it stays up for about
About a
8
month,
weeks,
about a
Yeah.
month.
about a month.
a little over.
And didn't we talk about doing some additional stuff about the ID requirements? Like, didn't we talk about, I don't know.
Yeah, and
extra
we're
money?
gonna do some more signs for that. We're gonna do some more advertising with the radios, the newspapers, and then we're also doing the outreach events.
And I would also like to get a sign for every location, like
just-
right when they leave the parking lot, so that it says, you know, something to the effect of like, remember your ID, so that people don't go all the way in and then have to go back out to their car to get their ID.
Yeah.
So, like a big, something in the budget for big signs.
Yeah, we're
At
going
each
to
location.
get some signs for this election. We've already talked to the printer. The only thing I'm waiting on is to see if the state board wants to give us a format. So during the municipal, they did not give us a format. We made our own, and it was just on paper and taped to the sign. They didn't hold up very well, but it was just something temporary to get through the municipals. So once the state replies back whether or not they're giving us a format, then we're going to actually get a cardboard print, sturdy copy for all the sites.
Yeah.
So we do have that in this budget, so we're gonna go ahead and
Okay.
order that for the primary.
Do you know where we're gonna have those, 3 billboards?
Um,
Location?
I do, but I don't. So I know they are geographically spread around. There's one near Irwin. The electrical one here is in Lillington. I think the other one's down 401 going toward the northwest. And there's one down in the western part of the county, but I don't remember what highway that's on.
The 87?
It may be. So we got them on main highways scattered around the county.
Mayor, are we still gonna do signage to inform them of the actual voting dates?
Yes, we have those already from a previous election, I just gotta get the dates updated. And we have a quote already coming through for that, to update the dates on those. And it has early voting here, and then it has the dates on there. We have already talked to the health department marquee, it's gonna be on theirs, Lillington is gonna put it on their marquee. I feel like I'm forgetting one, because we reached out to Andrew did not, I thought Andrew had one, but they don't have one. So we've already reached out to the towns, and then we've also reached out to the towns for their water their bills, the water billing. So everything's gonna be in the water billing as well as the Harnett County, water billing as well.
You might reach out to the fire departments because they all have signs out there.
Yeah, I think we did that one year, I'll reach out.
And you're gonna do the town of Lillington billboard again?
Yes, we've already reached out to them, and they said that was good, okay. But yeah, if you have anything else that you think about, just reach out to me, and then we can get it put in there. And then we can talk about it at the next meeting. Any other questions before we move forward? All right. So the next thing was just the
I have a
conference.
question.
Okay.
Sorry, just, have we ever worked with the churches in putting up signage on their billboard?
We have not worked with the churches, and the only reason we haven't done that is because different churches may want different things promoted, and we were trying to stay with nonpartisan, tax-funded agencies. Churches can be a little bit funny sometimes about things, so we have not reached out or worked with any of the churches before.
Is there some way to reach out and find out what they want, what they require for signage? Because the idea is to get the message out to the population, to all civilians, not necessarily just main highways. Everybody seems to want to go to church, so it would be nice to have that as another avenue.
I can look into that. The only other issue is I don't know all the churches in Harnett County. I don't know if there's a listing of all the churches in Harnett County. So if we reached out, we'd want to reach out equally to them
Yeah, I think
all.
we can get you that list.
I don't know, yeah. But that's something we can look into.
Okay.
If churches want to do it, I would be absolutely fine with that, but I don't think it ought to come from here.
Don't think what I didn't hear.
I don't think it ought to come from the Board of Elections asking churches to put it out there. If we as individuals want to say it's a good idea, if y'all want to put it out there, but not as a board, I just don't,
Well, some of the issues that we're dealing with are photo identification.
oh, I don't disagree with that
Yeah,
part, but I
yeah.
just don't think that.
What do you think is a church and
Separation,
state
separation is just, I think it's too much mixture.
Well,
And I've
we're
been a
all people.
Presbyterian forever. But, I mean, that's just for discussion.
Okay, we'll have that discussion later.
So then the other thing really quick with the conference, I think I got confirmation that everybody that you're all gonna be able to attend. I think I got it from you too. Okay, so everybody, is already registered, we already have the rooms for the conference, February 4th through 6th, and that will be in Concord. Check out my notes. And then that just is gonna roll over into the calendar, so our next item, so basically, I emailed everybody the state's view of the absentee meeting on February 6th, that we should still have that meeting. So hopefully, I think if we get out by the time that they say, which is 1, I think is what it said was 1, we should be able to get back here. I know that I will have enough time to get back here and get this stuff together. The only other suggestion they had, if you can't have it at 5, is to open the meeting at 5 and then recess to a later time or day, which would still require a majority of the board to come here to open that meeting, to recess it. So if that's the case, I feel like we should just have the meeting at 5, especially since I know that I will be able to get everything together in that amount of time. I think that's
the
the
hardest
easiest way to do it.
Might have a suggestion, we might want to move that time of the 6th meeting 6 o'clock instead of 5.
But we still have to open the meeting at 5
At
and
5.
recess to 6.
Well,
Are
you
they
got
gonna
the
pay
hardest.
for our speeding tickets coming back?
Well, don't speed, you're just not at Concord, so.
Well, I mean, the hardest thing to do is just set up, and I think you have that.
Yeah,
staff to
I
get that done.
definitely,
We got to just be present.
We'll go with it.
and I will say typically on the last day of the conference, the state board usually gets out early anyway, so. I really don't think the time will be an issue to be here by 5. It'll be an inconvenience, but I think it can be done.
Concord, top hours. Yeah.
Yes.
The only other thing with the, I printed out the election calendar for you guys. This is just abbreviated, so it's from January to August. I did that so you can focus more on what's coming up in the more close future. But also on the back side, I wanted you to have the training dates and times. So I didn't want the rest of the calendar to print onto that second page. We have already sent our letters out after Christmas to the judges and assistants so they can start signing up for training. And then hopefully within the next few days, because our phones have been ringing off the hook all day today, so hopefully we'll have an idea of where we are number-wise. In our system, we have 300 people set up as poll workers. We really only need about 200 to 250, so on paper, it looks like we're gonna be good on poll workers, but that doesn't mean they're all gonna call in and work. So we're gonna keep an eye on our sign-in sheets to see where we are number-wise, and then reach out accordingly to try to recruit some
Is
people.
that a pretty even split?
Pretty much, yeah. Our poll workers are pretty evenly divided between Democrat, Republican, and unaffiliated. And it's nice, and then it's also can have its issues because when you're talking about judges and stuff, it's really hard to, when everybody's changing to unaffiliated. But number-wise, we're looking good. And then if we see we're a shortage, we'll reach out to the parties and try to see what we can do as far as recruiting. Are there any other questions about the calendar? As things get updated, I'll update this as well for you because I added the expo on there on February 8th. So as things change or update, I'll update this as well. Now I will say, when you get down to April, I was just talking to Betsy, it looks like in April you're gonna have a lot of meetings, but that's only if we have a second primary. So this may very well change depending on if we have a second primary or not. Any other questions about the calendar? That is all the business that I had for you guys today, but we do have a need to go into closed session to discuss personnel.
Now, before you do that,
Okay.
do you have new business?
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
And I would like to have a new business added onto our calendars. Because
Okay.
a lot of times I'd like to discuss things, but there's no opportunity because we run through our business and we're adjourned. So I think it'd be a good idea just to have, whether you have anything under it or not, just new business.
I would like to make a suggestion though.
Shoot.
If there is something, because when I send out the agenda, if there's something you want added, let me know. Sometimes it's hard for you guys to just throw new business at me if I don't have the statutes and the documents prepared. Because being that I'm not in my office, I don't have full access to everything. Like I have access to my files here, but I don't have access to anything state related on this program. So it is helpful for me to at least have an idea before the meeting, what you want to discuss, so I can prepare documents.
Well, that's certainly reasonable, and I would ask reciprocation,
Mm-hmm.
because I see something like personnel, and I don't know what we're gonna be talking about.
Mm.
And I'd like to be prepared, because I've prepared a lot of stuff, and I don't wanna bring everything in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah.
I don't know what the focus is gonna be.
Yeah, the personnel is a continuation of our last month's meeting.
I assume that, okay.
Yeah.
So, may we have some new business now?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine.
Under the new business, I just had an opportunity this last couple of weeks to review the numbered memos that were sent and the supporting documentation that was sent, and that was just before Christmas. I love the state board, And I don't feel comfortable just looking at the numbered memos and seeing something like 59 references without reviewing the references, because that's an integral part of what they're saying with the memos. And so that generates a lot of extra work. And I know I asked you once before to ask if they would link those references in the numbered memos, so we can just jump to it on our computers instead of having to search for them and then look at them or print them up. In my case, I just like to do that. I like to cut down trees. But that's just my personal preference rather than computers. I thought that you had said you contacted them, but I never got a final response. Are they going to do it or not? Because if not, I'll contact them.
Yeah, let me follow back up with that, because I reached out to our SST, and I think so much has gone on between now and then that they may have forgotten about it. I kind of forgot about it, so I'll reach back out to the SST.
Okay, because I'd like to have some sort of a reply.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
And-
sure they do link.
What's that?
I'm pretty sure they do link. I'll look right now, but.
Well, there were a whole bunch of them that didn't. They just had the reference without linking.
Yeah, I'll follow
Usually
back
one-
up with
you-
Steve.
Let me look, but I,
Would it
Go ahead.
help
like
if
all
we
their,
could have
all their agenda items.
a laptop for, to have accessibility, get access to the internet with,
Our Steam stuff is not connected to the internet.
Yeah, I have to get it
Yeah.
on my phone.
I have the laptop, that's what I said, I have the laptop, so I have access to like my documents and stuff.
but you
the
can't
county
get a
files,
state,
But I can't access the state stuff because it's on our actual desktops at the office. You can't, that's not something that's hooked to, that we can just, that I'm aware of, have it mobile.
Well, I'll be
and
sure
move
that if I
around with it.
recommend anything under new business, that I'll give you the references ahead of time.
Yeah,
So-
and I'll look at the number of memos as they come through and see what's linked and what's
Yeah.
not linked, and I can always attach them as well.
Okay.
now with what Betsy has there, for you to have that same setup, what would you need?
Well, I mean, she still can't access the state stuff.
Well,
That's
I can do
secure.
the numbered memos.
Yeah, the
but I
number of
have to do-
memos, yeah, because that's on the internet, but I'm just
Right.
saying I don't have access to everything I have at
She
the
can access
office.
more stuff than just the general public, is what she's
Mhm.
saying, and she can't do that from here.
So,
Mhm.
okay,
Like reports and things, like I don't have access to my state reports. So if you, under new business, wanted to talk about, oh, what's the numbers of all the polling places, you know, how many popular people, what's the population of each precinct, I can't run that report on this computer. I'd have to go back to my desktop at the office to run those numbers. So I'm just saying there's some things I can't do on this because of the fact that we have the security protocols in place, and I need to do that from my office. So I just want to have an idea, because then I can have things prepared. I don't like to be here and say, I'll come back to you, I'll come back to you, because then between the month, things come up, and like with this, it may just get slipped.
That's reasonable.
Mhm.
That's fine.
Yeah, and most of
Right.
these, there are a bunch of links in here.
Oh, I know there are a bunch, but there's a bunch that are not linked, otherwise I wouldn't have brought it up.
Well, everything I've seen right here is linked,
Yeah.
so.
And
And
like
there
I
were
said,
67 references on the memo
Right,
205. And of the 67, 20-some were linked. The rest were not. And I'm talking about case decisions, judges' references, previous memos, etc. And it just makes it a lot easier. Don't forget, this is volunteer work that we're doing.
Oh, I
I don't like to
understand.
waste all my time doing research. It's there, they did it, they made reference to it, it's a simple thing to link it. Okay, anyway, that was just to reference my next point. Oh my goodness, I don't want to take a lot of time, but, so in any event, in reviewing a lot of this stuff and reviewing the statutory requirements, what impressed me more than anything else was the mandatory language in the statutes about what the Board of Elections must do, the board. Not a subcommittee of the board, not delegating it to the election chair or staff, but what the board has to do. And I know in going through the personnel matters, we were talking about different hires and different issues, which I won't get into detail of, but in those issues, it came up that we were going to have 2 people review applications. I think that's contrary to what the statute says. statute says the board has to do it. Well, as a member of the board, for me to make an evaluation, I have to review the applications. I don't want to delegate it to someone else. Otherwise, I'm just rubber stamping what someone else's opinion is. I'm the one that has the responsibility. I want to do the work. If people don't want to do the work, they should probably resign and get someone else who will want to do the work. So that's an issue that I'm concerned with. That goes across the board with not only staff, but assistant election director, and even through the process of hiring or dismissing the board of the election director. That's a submission to the state board for their approval or action to be taken. But all of these things bring me back to one position. And that one position is I'd like to make an intelligent decision based upon my review of documentation and also interviewing the applicants. I mean, these people interact with our public. These people are the face of the Board of Elections. I want to make sure that they're going to give a good presentation, they're going to have some wherewithal, they're going to have background and experience, and I don't want to just say, well, this person thinks they're great, so why don't you just go along with it? So what I'm suggesting in all of those areas, including the judges and the assistant judges, the statutory language says the board shall. Those words mean one thing to me. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it, but it means one thing to me, and we're not following those procedures. We ask everybody to follow the law very rigidly in the election process, so we have free, fair, and transparent elections. We have to act the same way. I believe that the procedures that we're using right now have to be addressed, because I think that a member of the public could easily challenge it, and if we were challenged, the state board is going to say, yeah, you have to follow the law, you're not doing that. So I'd like to ask everybody, each one of you individually on the board, to review the statutory language as it applies to these decisions that we're making. I'm not asking you to do it today, because I don't want a off-the-hip decision. I want you to look at it, and in good conscience, you decide. And then I'd like a decision to be made going forward. We may have to alter what we've done already. There are ways that we can possibly cure stuff. We just had a new hire. It may be that the full board could perform its legal duty by reviewing all the applicants and accepting what the panel or person did, and do we agree with that? That's a roundabout way to me. I want to see the application. I want to meet the people that are applying. And I don't want to do that today in particular, but I'd like really some deep thought on it. I'd like you people to look at the responsibility. We all took the same oath, and I'd like to follow that oath, and I would hope that all of us do. So at a time certain, whether it's our next regular scheduled meeting or at a day, one of our intermediate meetings, we could discuss it in more depth. I'd like to hear the opinions of each board member.
I would like to add, and this again is why I would like to be prepared beforehand.
Yes.
Because the board has many duties, as you can see through the statutes. The board can delegate as many or as few duties as it wishes to the director, aside from its quasi-judicial duties. The quasi-judicial duties cannot be delegated. Hiring of staff does not fall under the quasi-judicial and therefore can be delegated. So you're right, in the past it was delegated down. It doesn't mean it has to be, but again, that's a board decision. So that's something that we can certainly discuss. But there are some things that, even though it says the board shall, if it's not a quasi-judicial, they can still delegate that down. As far as the judges go, that's a different process because they are appointed by the party. So the party submits those lists, and the board has to go through those, has to go by people that are on the list. And so most of the board members have never worked with these poll workers, or they know all the poll workers in the county, which is why it comes to us, and then we look through the list and we recommend, okay, well, they listed these 2 people, this person's worked before, this one hasn't, so this is the one we're gonna put on there. But of course, the board can look through all those lists as well, that's why I submit that to you guys. But I just want to be able to just clarify, I guess my point is to clarify that you do have quasi judicial, and then you have other administrative duties that you can delegate down. And every county does it a little bit different. There are some counties where the board does all the hiring. If that works for them, that's fine. And there are some where they do delegate it differently, like how we've done here. So that's just something that the board together just needs to discuss and make an agreement on how they want to do that moving forward.
That's why I suggest we review it,
Yes.
because I didn't see that in the
Mhm.
statutes, what you just said. It
Mhm.
makes sense,
Yes.
that you have the ability
I can
to,
give you the site if you want it.
okay, well, I'll use that
One
research.
6335 subsection D.
And I will say, at the conference, I think they're gonna have a session with 4 duties, and I think Paul Cox or Bob Joyce may be doing that session as well. And so any of those questions too would be great to give them during the conference.
Okay,
So I
well,
think that conference is gonna give a little bit more light on what, the board can and can't do.
and that's good, because I just want to make sure that I'm fulfilling my obligation as best I can, so I have a clear conscience, that's
Yes.
all.
Mhm.
Because otherwise, I'm wasting my time here.
Mhm.
I don't want to have a situation where, no disrespect to you, but having a staff or a board being the tail that wags the dog. I don't want that circumstance.
Mhm.
If we have the authority and the responsibility, I want us to use it and execute it. So, if we can do that, if we can examine everything in the interim before our next session, you can have your statutes and let me know them. I'd like to review them myself.
I just
Yeah,
16535, 16535D, I think is what it is. 16335D.
35D.
Yes, sir.
D.
Subsection, paragraph D.
Yeah, and I think I referenced that, but I don't want to get into it right now, but I made a note of that.
That's fine.
So if we can do that, I would appreciate it. And the sooner the better, because we're doing this stuff as we go right now. So if we can do it before the next regularly scheduled meeting, that would be fine. If not, we'll do it when we do it.
And just in preparation for that, bringing your job description might help, because we went through all of this very extensively,
Yeah.
about what
Linda
duties,
County did it.
right, what duties we delegated to Claire, what duties we kept for ourselves, and I can bring in that documentation, but that's something that might be
Yeah, I have it
helpful
too.
to them.
And I would imagine too, that if there's a differentiation in interpreting the legal statutes, I would suggest that we could contact the state board for a legal opinion on the definitions in our duties. And we may be enlightened by the workshop coming up.
Yeah, I think usually they have a pretty good session. And I know there's been some talk about them coming out with a board member manual. Haven't seen it yet.
Yeah. Oh, there's
But
another
I'm
thing.
hoping that'll be something that they'll share at the conference.
Another thing that jumped into my head was steps. There's a reference on the state board where you can access a different information, but you need a passcode. I don't have that passcode.
Yeah, no board member has that,
Why
because
not?
that is something that the state board has given the staff that, and I'll have to get the wording right from legal, but that is something that board members are not supposed to have access to. Our intranet site, which it has the steps, it also has a lot of confidential information on it. And because board members are on and off, and they're 2 years or not 2 years, board members can't have those passwords.
Well, I'll take that up with the state board then.
That's fine.
So that's all the new business I have to announce today so far.
All right.
That was a good start.
All right, so again, like I said, we just have a need to go into closed session. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We'll take a break.
Let's go ahead and move into closed session.
Oh,
We'll
okay,
take
yeah,
a
let's,
break.
okay. I'll second the motion.
All right,
Do
any
we need to make a motion on the break?
no,
No.
all those in favor?
Aye.
5:49,
Okay.
so we can take a quick break. We are back in open session. Our next meeting will be January 30th at 5 o'clock, and that will be our first absentee meeting for the primary election. And I have nothing else for the board today.
I move that we adjourn.
I second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
We are, 6:10.
6:10. Good time.